Good evening, each and everyone. It truly has been my personal privilege and a special moment having this opportunity to introduce this forum. Undoubtedly, this session has been most profound, as well as I'm sure it will be inspirational. Welcome, Suhas ji, and thank you for your time. Suhas Gopinath hails from a non-business family founding Globals at the age of 14 and age generally children are being shielded by their parents, was recognized as one of the world's youngest CEOs. Globals was featured by The Economist, one of the world's fastest growing tech companies. Suhas founded Globals as a web solutions company and eventually grew to become one of the world's largest analytics company for education and public sector. He was also the co-founder for another organization, Happy EMI, which is again a fin startup using AI to access credit risk of customers at point of sale. Suhas, a young leader, global leader of World Economic Forum and youngest ever to be in its history. It doesn't, this is pretty brief. There are a lot of accolades, but I think today time is just insufficient for us to read out everything. However, I need to talk about the most prevalent ones. Former advisory board of World Bank, National Coach Women of City for ICT, member of National Expert Advisory Committee to Government of India, member of France Club Young Leaders, winner of New York Venture Fellow, diploma on public policy at Harvard Kennedy School, honorary fellowship from Geetham University, vice chairman of Common Control Center Task Force on COVID-19 in the IPR, Government of Karnataka. Warm welcome once again to us. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for the introduction, Aparnaji. So I firstly want to congratulate the Bharat Spandan team and as well as to my friend when I spoke to Girish ji. I spontaneously agreed to be on the session today, and it's definitely it's a privilege and it's amazing to see the activities Bharat Spandan has done and with the fact that the support that they have had or the impact that they have had on the public at large with their program of actually SOS War Room. I think it's I must tell that it's absolutely commendable because I'm also vice chairman of the COVID-19 task force DAPR, and I would say that about 85% of the whole initiative was totally managed by volunteers, and 15% was managed by across government who facilitated. So even the World Economic Forum has recently featured the Karnataka state on its engagement with actually volunteers. So with that, I would want to congratulate the entire Bharat Spandan team. So I'll firstly introduce myself in short and some of the challenges which I have been through, so that in case if if anybody in the audience is kind of slightly anxious about the pandemic that we are facing today, or is in between jobs, has got laid off, has taken salary cuts, I would want to share a few things across my journey itself and across the challenges, so that of course, with the only intent that I hope it ignites the fire in your belly and you see these challenges as an amazing or a massive opportunity ahead of us, so that we can remain the wheel. So um, I would start with this. I started my company when I was 14. So my father used to work for the Indian Defense as a defense scientist, and I went to a school called Air Force School. So I had some friends who were from privileged background, where of course their pocket money was on a higher bracket. My pocket money was like 15 rupees per month, and in our family we had this rule that as you move up the academic ladder, your pocket money will go up. So in my case, of course, I didn't have a computer at home. I had friends in my school who all had computers, or at least had access to their father's laptops, or at least the computers, and they used to exchange CDs. It was game CDs, and I was always feeling odd man out that I have nothing to exchange, and I could not be in the elite circle of my friends. It is when I told to myself that maybe I should see in case if there is a way I should probably I should explore the world of internet myself. So on one of my birthday, when I was in my ninth standard, I was 13 years old. So I had my brother who took me to a cyber cafe. He was 5 years elder to me. He was studying his engineering. So he took me to a cyber cafe for the first time. I had my email account, and I was very excited. My first email account was on hotmail.com. So I was very excited of having an email account. With all excitement, I went back to my school the next day, and in my lunch break, I wrote my email address and the password on the blackboard. So I was with an assumption that if anyone needs to send me an email, they should know my password. So it was a basic knowledge with what I started off with, and I was a laughing stock of my class. And I was very, very inspired to go back to that cyber cafe again because I felt that wow, internet is so amazing because it's connecting people across. And in my school days, I always had I would say like an ambition to study veterinary science because of my fond of animals. But when I fell in love with the world of internet and computers, I think my life changed where I realized that my passion is in computers, and I wanted to go back to the cyber cafe center again. But I realized that to go to the cyber cafe, I'll have to spend about 50 rupees per hour, and my pocket money would not permit me to do that. So when I used to cycle back home, I saw that the cyber cafe in my neighborhood was not open in the afternoon. My school used to get over by 1:15, and I requested the shop owner of the cyber cafe that when he goes for his lunch, is there any way I could operate the shop so that I will look after the shop, in exchange allow me to use the internet for free of cost. So it was like a barter deal. In my entire school days, I was an introvert, and I used to I, I would never speak. I would never take up any stage competitions. If my teachers in my school used to force me to sign up for any competitions, the maximum I used to sign up was for flower dressing or salad dressing competition where you don't have to speak. So all my school days, I was an average student. I was introvert. I was not that A plus. I was not the A plus student. So I went to the cyber cafe, and I realized it's two things I could do here. So I could tell to myself that my father cannot buy me a computer, so I'll have to follow my routine, and I need to put my passion into the back burner, or at least let me do one attempt to ask the cyber cafe owner in case if I could run his shop when he goes for his lunch. Maximum, I knew that he's going to say no because like a 13-year-old kid coming and asking him to run the shop, obviously he'd feel insecure, and he did feel very insecure. His name is Shubdev. I hope he's not joined in. I had asked him to join if he's free. So yeah, so I asked Shubdev in case if I could run the shop. He immediately agreed. He was kind of surprised. He agreed to it, and I also realized the next day he followed me until my house because he wanted to make sure that if there are few things that are missing from his cyber cafe, he knows where to come. So of course that is how started. So can you all mute so that I don't we don't have any echoing or background noise? Yeah. So of course with that I was I started to go to the cyber cafe every day after my school, and I do not know if I need to tell here, but please don't take this as an inspiration because I lied to my mother that I had joined NCC in my school, and because she was always expecting me at my home for lunch at about 1:30. But I started to reach home at 4:30 because I used to spend time in the cyber cafe until the owner comes. Until then, I was using internet. So I told special classes or NCC, but I was still managing my academics. And I started to learn how to build websites. So as a person, I always used to think that if I had to sign up for an email account on hotmail.com, why should I actually use Microsoft product? Why shouldn't I build my own? Why should I be a consumer? But why not? I could be the creator or the developer. I so I designed my own website. It was then called coolinthestan.com. It was targeted on NRIs who wanted to send voice messages. So you could record a voice message, and it was integrated to EPBX board where it would make automated phone calls to their dear ones on their landline phones. So I was coming up with those creative things, and absolutely it was all built over actually passion. There was no there was absolutely no expectation of brownie points, and started to build websites. Started um, Started to freelance for actually other American developers or American companies who wanted freelancers to build websites. So we started to build websites, and the cyber cafe owner was then helping me to pass some leads. So I was a freelancer who was building websites until a point when one of the American companies sent me an email telling that they wanted to have a look at my CV. And I never had a CV in my life. So for the first time, I went on the internet. I looked out how does a resume look like, and I started to make my own CV. And I was too naive, so I started to write in my ninth standard how much how much percentage I've scored, and by then I was in my 10th standard. So I wrote that I was studying in my 10th, and here are the websites I've built. So when when I made the CV then and until today, something that actually really surprises me is that the first page of a CV even today holds the academic qualification of the individual, not their skill sets or the experience. And after that comes their skills, hobbies, everything. But in my case, my academic qualification was very limited, but the experience in terms of the number of websites which I did was good enough. So I sent the CV to a few companies, and they replied back telling that we can't work with a freelancer who is like who may not even have a mustache, who is like 13 years or 14 years. We feel insecure to work with school kids, and it's probably I think that's when I actually realized that I wanted to make sure I will not send my CV to anybody else in my life then, and I wanted to make sure that I'm on the other side where I could start receiving the CVs. And it's when I decided to start my own company. So uh, uh, I uh, I started, and the Indian laws did not allow me to start the company, so I had to start it in the US as a corporation company in the US, San Jose. So uh, I started I started to work across globals. It was kind of a spontaneous name that I found, uh, and I would say that it was kind of magical because when I became a CEO of my own company, it was a one man show, and when I started to write emails as a CEO of globals, uh, the perception of people was totally different. So where at least they started to accept me more seriously. They started to feel that okay, fine, he's a CEO of a company, so age or the academic qualification or the prejudice that they had was no more there. So from then on, of course, company grew. We started to build products from web solutions to enterprise applications, focusing on predictive analytics for defense and intelligence in India. And after that, we started to build enterprise applications in education and other sectors. So, and as we speak today, we operate in about 14 countries today, and we've transformed ourselves from services to products. So that's been the background of the company. And in this journey, I would say that I've faced a lot of challenges. So of course, one was my age itself, where people who never take me seriously, they had a lot of prejudice on my age. In few meetings, like when in my early 20s, I had the state's industries minister then who told me that he doesn't want to meet me. He wants to talk to my boss or he wants to talk to my father. And it was very difficult to convince him that I was the founder of the company and he needs to talk to me. Or I had instances when I was uh, I was like 16 years old when the company was on the verge of shutdown because most of the American companies to whom we used to build websites, they started to reply back telling that, hey, Suhas, we are manufacturing automobile components or we're manufacturing we're into automotive components, so I would want to. I don't need a website, so I'm not interested with your services. That's when I had to sign up for a fake email account, at least to sensitize them, and I sent them an email that I would like to import your automobile components. Can I have a look at your website? Immediately, they replied back telling that uh, we don't have a website. So, but we are happy to share our information as an attachment. And I used to reply back telling that if you do not have a website, you don't meet my supplier standards from that fake email. But after that, I used to make them, I used to send them an email in my own email address to make them realize that, hey, if it was a real customer, you potentially could have missed out on an opportunity. So that's exactly why you need to have a website, so that at least while you're sleeping, somebody could be accessing your products or services. So another two instances is that when there were when one of the bureaucrat, he never gave me appointment. I literally I asked the PA to actually share his flight details so that I could meet him on a plane, and I sat next to him on a plane to pitch. So sometimes in life we need to be shamelessly aggressive. So with this, I think Mr. Sampath has been asking to get into immediately into job opportunities. So I would not take much time on my background, but I would immediately get into the agenda actually what we are. So I wanted to share my introduction only with an intent or with a message to let you know that with absolutely nothing, and you may not have a strong academic qualification or strong academic background. You may not be from um, extreme well-to-do families, but all that matters is that fire in the belly and to be shamelessly aggressive sometimes in life, to look out for opportunities and to convert challenges into opportunities. So when we have COVID-19 as on date, I would say it is. I've seen people being extremely anxious. I've had it was for the first time. It's probably as an entrepreneur I could understand, because over here we're talking of job opportunities, but I would also want to share a few things as an entrepreneur. For me, since the day I founded the company until today, there was not a single day in our company's history where we've deferred salary. So on 5th of every month, it kind of I would have the same feeling how you would, yeah, you're about to write an exam. You would have the discomfort in your stomach on 5th of every month, in spite which company or your cash flow is positive. But the 5th of every month is a salary day in our company, and it's equally important. I still remember one of the statements my mother made, because my mother and father, they are from actually simple, like, middle class orthodox background, and for them, me starting a company or entrepreneurship was then considered as a sin for them, and they felt that we are middle class family. We do not have any people in our family who does business, so why do you want to do it? Our family comes from Mysore. For them, success means you you actually you finish your graduation, you take up a job, and you settle. But if you move outside it, for them it was like, okay, I mean, if anything goes wrong, will we be able to bail him out? So with that, I think one statement my mother made me was, it's very, very important that there's not a single day that you should miss out on paying salaries for somebody who's depending on you. And I think it's what is done. But what does COVID-19 has done for us this time was that we had to announce a salary cut to our employees, and it's probably I've never done that like ever, as CEO of a company. It's totally abnormal for us to do it, but as a precaution we had to do it, so that in case if the situation extends, as a company you have your preparedness to make sure that you have to retain the staff, but the most important is the cash flow should not get on strain. So with that, the pandemic, what has it has done is it has kind of it has trained our economy across the globe. And if at all you buy a new phone, or you have your existing phones, and if you do it as reset all factory settings and you start your phone again, you'd see your phone as fresh as possible. And I think that's exactly what this pandemic is going to do. it has reset the world. It has actually reset our economy, which is definitely good and bad. In terms of reset, whenever we want to reset everything into factory settings, it's always good, right? Because it's fresh. If you have no apps, you have no settings on your phone, you need to do it again. Of course, doing it again, of course, takes time. But the advantage when you do everything as a reset of factory settings means that the performance is much higher, which technically means in our context of job opportunities, it means that you can leapfrog. So sometimes the skills that we have today can be obsolete. Post-COVID world, definitely it's not going to be the same. Like WHO has shared unpleasant news saying that similar to HIV, we will have to live with the coronavirus as well. We need to accept it, but we need to maintain those social distancing. We need to have new norms. In fact, the other day to somebody in the World Bank, when we had a conference call, I was telling them this very interesting thing, because when like for example, in our own case, we work with like defense and intelligence in India. Those are the people who are absolutely, I would say, they're like anti-technology, right? They would never come on a Zoom or a WebEx call. I had to take flights to Delhi to meet them. And people from Air Force, from the armed forces, for the first time are sending out to me WebEx links, or they're sending out to me Zoom call links. So I think the best consultant that we've got today is actually this coronavirus, where it has done digital transformation across age groups, across genre of people. So if digital adoption has increased a lot. I knew schools and teachers where they used to have resistance to like, teach kids online. Now, of course, they're forced to do it because they do not want to miss the academic calendar. They want to teachers to come on board. And sorry, so I think the best part that we have right now is we have a massive opportunity ahead where of course, while the coronavirus has impacted across industries, across sectors, it also means that there's a massive wave of digital adoption across, like even like even now, right? So if it was not coronavirus, actually Girish ji had to probably book an auditorium, had to organize a seminar in person where we all had to go and meet, and people who are not based in Bangalore may not have had the chance to attend the session there. So now, actually, coronavirus has uh, is uh, on the consumption side, we have to look at for local, but at the same time, in terms of collaboration, it is a flat world. It's globalized, right? So we are seeing more and more webinars. We are seeing people sitting at home during the lockdown have started to reskill themselves and upskill themselves. So, but the one thing I would tell that specifically in terms of job opportunity of digital gig economy, which means that uh, so many times post COVID, there will be high chances that like most of us may be having two jobs. So one is maybe your full time job that you are actually committed, where you have a fixed salary coming in, and you may also have an add on job, which is called as gig economy, that you will be doing in your free time, because it's very likely that new normal is that every company which I know who used to have resistance to allow people to work from home have started to embrace that, because they feel that okay, I mean, it's the only way that we can stay productive and to minimize the impact. So I wanted to share a few infographics here, and I wanted to specifically walk you across the job opportunities. So let me share the content. Can I be made the presenter or the host so that I can share the content?
Uh, yeah, just give me 1 minute. I think you are present. Let me just check.
I think he's not. You have to, otherwise, it will show in the top.
Can you do that, Manjeet ji?
No,
Okay, I got it. Change to presenter. So I changed you to presenter, Suhas ji.
Yeah.
yeah, it looks better now.
Okay, perfect.
We can see it.
Yeah, we can see. Thank you.
So I'm sharing this charge. So it's a small infographic which I wanted to share. So of course, one thing that we see is of course the four scenarios, which is a post-COVID, uh, which we're going to see. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, we can see.
Sure. So of course, one is digital economy. So where of course, as I told, the amazing advantage across digital is, I mean, earlier, I would say digital or adoption of technology was pretty much confined to those industries who've been in the technology space, right? But as of now, I have my family groups to somebody from the Indian Air Force to elsewhere who are embracing digital technologies, and the prejudice is gone. And the best consultant that we've had is COVID-19. Um, uh, in where people have no option but they're forced to do it, like banks, for example, who had adopted digital banking, now have started to also adopt open banking, because they feel that fintech companies access to loans or access to lending can happen when banks are able to share data. And similar way, we see the digital economy uh, as actually one of the four scenarios. And the second one is we have the tech powered we have the tech powered workforce, where when the economy is bouncing back, it's pretty much important that we have new products. We are looking at least new jobs which is going to come. We are similar, like almost 10 years back or 15 years back, there was no job role called as data scientist or predictive analytics. So so but as we've progressed, we've started to see that you've got engineers, like blockchain engineers. You've got chief data scientist, actually as a role which never existed a decade back. Similar way, post COVID world, we will have new job roles that we may not have heard of. Let's say it could be in terms of health complaints. In every organization, you would have a health complaints officer who ensures that the safety norms of the employees is taken care, the hygiene of the employees are taken care. You'd have an consultant in non-tech companies, whose job is to make sure that everyone in the company is upskilled and are able to adopt across digital. And I think there's a massive demand. I've had a pharma company who asked me in case if we could deploy some consultants who could enable them to go across digital. Like they want to make sure that how could they enable their workforce to work from home, how could they stay productive, and in case if the lockdown extends, how could they still um, like minimize any kind of impact, right? Uh, so you'd have such roles that is going to come. And of course, one south side for this is that we will see that there will still be some divide across the global landscape that's going to exist, because some of us already have few kind of, I would say, prejudice on few countries already. We feel that we shouldn't be buying product from an XYZ country. We shouldn't be endorsing such a product. And at the same time, in our mind, we will also have the fact that the virus may be coming back, and if not, it's coronavirus, but we will have a preparedness to fight any other virus, which is good and bad, right? Because we will have an anxious living, but at the same time, we also have the preparedness, because like, at least in our living memories here on this call, I don't think anyone of us has experienced anything like this. And it's exactly why I think our generation will obviously will be living with this fear, which is definitely, I feel that one way it is good, because we're all prepared, and with that preparedness we can expect that we'll come up with new skills, and we'll also come up with new products, in case if anybody on this call chooses to be an entrepreneur as well and wants to create jobs. So I'll, of course, after this call, I'll be sharing the document in short. But I wanted to share this specific. Sorry, this, just one second. One second. One of my other infographic is not loading. Just one second. Let me stop the screen share.
Sure.
So it's an infographic actually by Mercer that was being shared for World Economic Forum. So which I'll also be sharing. So of course, a few things that is definitely important here is upskilling, and we'll also have to reskill. It's two things that we'll have to do here, right? One is uh, uh, when I say upskilling, it's not only the technical skills, but also we'll have to upskill or we'll have to reskill ourselves in in those life skills. And earlier, the life skills were only our ability to write, speak, or the communication and the behavior. But as of now, ability to use digital products will eventually be considered as one of the core life skills for you to survive, and it is a post-COVID world. And I think it's very crucial. And if anyone is interested across digital field, because that's my expertise. As we have temporarily we've announced a salary cut to of course ensure that the cash flow is not taking strain, but at the same time, uh, the ability, what we are also doing is, as we speak, our HR teams are also recruiting people, and we are recruiting people for cyber security. We are actually recruiting malware analysts because we've realized that the post coronavirus, we've seen massive amount of offensive attacks that's been happening across organizations. And when they are actually using coronavirus as a fear, there is some so there is a human tendency where you immediately take action and you immediately want to open email. So for example, I do not want to name the organization, but one of the armed forces in India got an email telling that here are the list of people in your regiment who've been infected with across coronavirus. And one of the officer opened it, and it had malware. So it's where we've started to realize that cybersecurity is going to be one of the future. And uh, and the other thing is, I think you all must be seeing those WhatsApp forward of innovative products coming up on healthcare safety and workplace safety. But uh, I strongly believe that if anybody on this call is interested, is not too very technical, but is interested to take up a job as a consultant, there will be a massive demand for somebody to be a digital consultant for non-tech companies, and there will be a massive demand if you are a paramedic or you have interest on compliance and healthcare. There is a massive demand across MSMEs, large enterprises, to have health compliance officers. Earlier, we used to have compliance officers only to ensure that the hygiene of your accounts, hygiene of your legal compliances or regulatory compliances is taken care. But many organizations never thought of healthcare compliances. Now, the healthcare compliances is to make sure that um, so as a workplace, is it following all the social distancing norms? Are they screening the employees rightly? Are they having the transport for the employees, which is enabling them to ensure that in case if somebody is sick, uh, they are not carriers. So I think it is one area which we definitely feel. and education institutions, or in case if you're interested across education now, it's literally like you could be a teacher, uh, like sitting at home, and every school is looking at ways that they could engage with the students and as well as parents. So it could be in terms of mental health of the students. It could be to counsel parents, or at the same time, how do you deliver certain skills to the kids while you are sitting at home, right? So I may be having specific talent. So um, is it possible that I could engage with the kid online or across remotely? Because earlier parents had the luxury to send their kids to hobby classes to help them to learn of course certain life skills, but now you have trainers coming up online to teach. So I think so it's exactly why at the beginning I mentioned that I think the future of post COVID, it's very natural and it may not be abnormal. Like in US, having a full-time job and a part-time job was very common, but I think it's something that we'll definitely see across the world. And obviously it's no shame. So I may be working as a CEO of my company in the morning, evening I may be a teacher. So I think we'll definitely see people taking up like two jobs. It's not only to help their personal cash flows, but also to make use of that time and to help the country to leapfrog. And one very good news for India is we'll definitely think India is going to leapfrog when it comes to its manufacturing output, right? So I mean, the whole world has always looked at across China for manufacturing, but I think post-COVID, we'll definitely expect a lot of at least countries to set up their manufacturing plants. Like my own brother, he works as a chief data scientist for Mercedes-Benz across Germany, and Germany had massive plants invested across China, but now they are also looking at how could they mitigate the risk by not having all the manufacturing set up across China, but how do you spread over? So now they are looking at having expanded their R&D centers in India. They're already hiring people. They've already introduced work from home policies so that people are getting onboarded for the new jobs from their home, and they're also they're being employed. They've been recruited remotely, they've been interviewed remotely, they have also been onboarded remotely. So uh, so while there are like job cuts globally, but at the same time, like with the new skills that we're talking of, if you have the ability to utilize them, if you could upskill and if you could reskill yourself, I think I think we've got a massive opportunity. Specifically in terms of IT or technology, I would say that the future, as I told you in short, is going to be cyber security. People who had poor experience on blockchain now have started to adopt blockchain as for applications. While India has strong regulations on Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, but blockchain as underlying technology is still been is being embraced, right? So we got Maharashtra government, which is trying to actually explore blockchain for land records. So people are looking at solutions which are no more centralized but also decentralized. And with massive demand going up for across cloud applications because of lockdown, in fact, the Indian government had to request Netflix and Amazon Prime to not to deliver their content on HD, but to deliver it on SD because bandwidth was getting choked. Uh, so what that means is we have more and more people coming up across digital platform, which also means that there is a massive opportunity for people working on cloud infrastructure and also DevOps engineering. So our own company, like yesterday, we had shortlisted almost about 5 to 6 engineers for actually DevOps. So DevOps, is it possible that you can mute the phones? There's a lot of background noise. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you can continue.
Yeah.
But still
So
there's
DevOps,
some noise.
yeah. So actually DevOps engineers, we will have digital consultants. We'll have the workplace safety experts who could come on board. And in terms of IT skills, as I told you that you could definitely look at like blockchain, cyber security. We would have more people endorsing open source technologies more and more, apart from proprietary technologies. So of course, Microsoft is definitely the leader. But in terms of open source technologies, we would have more people who yeah who, which will be embraced by across companies because of cash flow constraints. Like our company deals with the ERP product for SMEs, and off lately we've seen spikes going up from some of the companies across the globe telling that they want to move from SAP to alternate ERP versions only because of cost factors. So um, when um, when you're a cash rich company, everything is fine. But the whole when the whole economy in your country is strained, it is when you could expect people to look for alternate high quality and cheaper options, because uh, people want to invest on must have things right now, and good to have may not have to be of a premium quality, right? So, and we've seen a massive demand across the market where people are moving away from proprietary technologies to open source technologies. So, in case if you already are skilled in certain technology like SAP or Microsoft, it's fantastic. There are opportunities, but in at least those who are looking to or are in between to figure out should they actually learn .NET across Java, or should they pick up SAP versus something else, then I think post COVID, I really suspect, at least it's my gut feel, or at least the patterns that I have seen, which is again contained to patterns what I've seen in our company, is that we've seen more and more companies that wants to adopt open source platforms. So with that, I would want to take the questions, and if anyone wants to ask on specifically on any skills or job opportunities, you could ask, or anything to do with entrepreneurship as well. I'm more than happy to answer.
Yep, sure. So we have received some of the questions
Okay.
and they are in the chat, but I can go ahead from the top. We have limited time. Maybe
Sure.
you can answer in short and then we can cover all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
them.
Let me
So,
just go through it.
so I can tell it. No problem. So first one is from Pratoshji. He's asking PM Narendra Modi had said, please do not go for pay cut and requested all employer the same. May I know, despite this, why is the pay cut done? I understand
So
the situation, but are there any other ways this could have, been done? What is your perspective?
yeah, so yeah, of course, the Prime Minister made this appeal. It's only that his appeal was to make sure that we do not cut anyone's um, actually jobs actually these times, and it is absolutely brutal to actually lay off any employees in these times, because you're dropping off them as a hot potato in between, and they can't do it. So for us, what we've done is as a precautionary as measure, where for example you have certain staff in the company who cannot work from home, or their roles would not permit them to work from home, and it's unfair for us to let them go. The only way is to ensure that the company's cash flow will not take a strain. It's the reason we had to announce a minimal, of course, salary cut, so that it's able to help others, and the company's cash flow will not come into a surprise where we do not want to go to the employees and tell that, hey, we want to defer your salaries, but we will not cut jobs.
Okay.
So for us, the foremost important is, I mean, you cannot, when it's very simple, right? Let me give you an example. Our company works with the education sector, and in education sector, government has told schools not to charge fees to the parents, and schools are telling that when I can't charge fees to the parents are not paying. how will I pay my vendors? For me, the only mandate is I want to pay salaries. I'm not supposed to pay vendors. Now I'm their vendor who is supplying ERP systems to schools, and schools are not paying to us. So it's a cash 22 situation there. So for us, the only thing is if everyone has a priority only to pay salaries and not pay their vendors, then obviously you will have to take certain steps where you have to manage with the existing cash reserves the company has built, where it has to sustain for long, and we don't know how long it is, because unlike a flood or any other kind of natural calamity that we've seen where you have certain patterns to predict, or here you have no patterns at all. It's absolute blind spot, right? Because it's absolutely new to us, and we don't know if the lockdown will get extended. We do not know when the economy will get revived. So it's one of the main reason that across companies salaries have been cut. I've seen many highly well-funded startups like Udan and others had to let go some of their employees as well, and it's very unfortunate. So for us, at least internally in the company, what we've decided is it's okay to do a salary cut to the employees, because
Okay.
we want to make sure that the salary cut is absolutely minimal, so that it doesn't impact their personal uh, at least their personal lifestyle or the minimal commitments that they have, and the most important is not to let go employees.
Now you did mention about it that during no, your speech as well. Okay, next question we can. Uh, this is related to asked by Venkateshwarji. How big is your company, workforce, and turnover? If you have any website or they can go there, maybe get this answer. Maybe we can skip it quickly so that we cover other questions. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think he wanted to know how big is the company, Suhasji.
In terms of employees, we have approx 200 employees.
Okay, yeah. Manjitji, can you quickly cover the next? I think Suhasji has a hard stop at 6 o'clock. Can you spare another 5 minutes, Suhasji?
Yeah, it should be fine. It should be fine, Girishi. So I want to make sure that I take up as many questions as possible, because in these crisis times, I would want to make sure that everyone. I mean, similar to the phone's reset button, we would want them to feel the confidence.
So I have being a job admin, I have one question related to what you mentioned, reset or factory, reset. So let us say a lot of us are related to 9 to 5 job or IT job, and suppose we are impacted by it, losing jobs. So if a person has to reset, suppose they are in hospitality industry or tourism industry, which is going through recession, if they have to change their job, how they can project themselves, how they can sell their experience, and prepare this CV so that for a different domain they can project themselves very well, or they get a decent job.
Hmm. I missed the last part. Could you repeat it? If they do a reset factory settings, I didn't understand. If they're on a different domain.
Different domain, different technology, or maybe if they have to start looking for job in different domain, how
Hmm.
they can prepare their CV, or how they can try to get a job. What is your suggestion?
Yeah.
So, of course, with regarding to the technical on the tech skills, I've already shared on the specific opportunities that is there. But I think ongoing across future, which I again mentioned that we would have more people who are focusing on skills and experiences. So my only request to the people, if they're in between jobs, if they're looking for jobs, the only thing is, instead of being desperate in sending out CVs with your existing skills, at least make use of the time to upskill yourself or to reskill yourself. Identify the opportunities in your own circles. Let's say if you're automobile engineer, I'm not an expert to actually advocate any like future job opportunities in automotive industry. But what I could understand is, uh, like every industry is getting actually disrupted, right, because of post COVID. I mean, earlier, as it is, the automotive industry was across crisis. So I'm taking this as an example where I think it's important to talk to your own circles, understand those trends that is happening, and and to identify. So in automotive industry, I think post COVID we would have more and more people who are definitely who are going to invest on personal transport. It could be electrical, or it could be automated cars. So you will have to reskill yourself so that you're future ready. So if you're sending the same CV with your existing skills, it may not be as attractive as it used to be in the pre-COVID era, right? So you need to understand that actually the world has come to a reset. So and the world expects absolutely new skills every individual to have, and it's a survival of the fittest. If like yesterday, it's a very simple thing. I want to share this. Right, yesterday we were hiring candidates for DevOps. They were applying from Anantapur, they were applying from Hyderabad, they were applying from Bangalore, everywhere. They all are at home right now. They some have been laid off, and some are being serving notice period. Some of them have taken salary cuts, and some of them are in their existing companies. Now, for me, out of 10 candidates whom I've interviewed, out five of them, we had shared them the job description about the job that they have applied. And when I asked them about, can you tell me something about the company? Can you tell me something about the future trends that you see across DevOps? They were absolutely numb, like having 3 years experience, 4 years experience. For me, I think it is very, very shocking. I think it is I'm talking from an employer's perspective. It's very, very important that we will have to invest more. We'll have to invest more efforts, because earlier we didn't have so much of it was a job seekers market, because you had multiple job opportunities, but now it isn't scarce. So which means that we need to put in that extra mile to invest time in understanding about the company, understanding future trends that exist, so that you can impress your employers. And you need to be like, when you're applying for a job, the most important is you need to ask yourself, why should they hire you, and how could you add value to this company? And if you need to answer the second question, how could you add value to that company, have a complete insight and understanding about the company first. You go to Google News, figure out if that company was in across news, have they acquired somebody, have they made any announcement, and like what kind of job opportunities that they have. So I had one candidate who told that, hey sir, I saw in your job board that you had these two job opportunities. I think I have skills for both the jobs. So if you cannot, if you can meet my expected CTC, I will be able to I'll be able I'll be able to fulfill both the job roles. Yeah.
So, Hasji, there's one question. Manjitji, your audio has some issue. So let me take up this question. So Hasji, the question is that there is this jobs market. I mean, in the US, right? You got 33 million people claiming unemployment last week. So where does all this
Yeah.
leading to? But the stock market is going up, right? So is there going to be some kind of balance somewhere, or is the jobs crisis going to last for too long?
So, of course, in the US, if you've seen, for job losses has not happened in high tech industries, or in the blue chip companies which we are talking about, right? It's very unfortunate that significant amount of job losses has happened on the part timers, and happened in hospitality industry, in the logistics industry, in the aviation industry. So if you see those trends, you could actually pattern it. The Silicon Valley jobs has not been impacted as much as other industries that we're talking about. So and the stock markets are actually going up of actually few companies which have benefited because of COVID, right? It could be pharma companies, it could be FMCG companies, it could be e-commerce or tech companies, like similar to Cisco or Zoom. Of course, their stock is absolutely going, because earlier we using WebEx or Zoom was a good to have thing, and as of now it's become like must have, right? It's one of the app that we see on anyone's mobile phone these days. So yes, so industries that have been impacted, I think it's high time that they don't lose hope. If you're from any of these industries that I did, which I did mention, and and of course, post COVID, it's not going to be normal as well. So, which which means that you will of course have to reskill. And I think, as Nikita has asked me here, can online certifications be valid? I think post COVID, I think one thing that we see is um, we will not see so much of bias towards specific institutions that we used to have, right? So many companies, like even in our own investor circle, with all due respect to people in this call from IIT or IIM, they used to have biases with certain institutions. And as and post COVID world, the good news is your skills will hold utmost important than your education qualification, which is extremely important. So make use of the time. Online certifications are definitely valued. Like, people value it. Earlier, if you were doing an online certification, the employers used to think that you've done an online certification because you're not capable, or you're not smart enough to go to an an in classroom institute. But now I don't think anyone would have those at least prejudice or assumptions.
I think Giriji, we can take one last question, and then
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
okay. So the question is from Arjunji, and this is one of the important, I feel. So he's referring that your talk seems to be more focused on 20 or 30, I would say, like maybe young age or below 10-year experience. What about some mid-management IT worker who
Mhm.
is above 40 or 45 years? So do you have any suggestions for especially mid-management IT workers?
Yeah. So for senior management and of course middle management, if you're across leadership positions, uh, which is exactly what I have also mentioned, right? So we will. It's not out of please them or anything, but it's something that I've been seeing as a request that's coming here. We'll find massive spikes, or we will have an awesome opportunity for them if they have significant experience in technology field to become for digital consultants. If they have certain skills that are which have become obsolete, I mean, unfortunately there are no options, but they have to reskill themselves. In case if they are hardcore, let's say, if you were a programmer who used to work on Perl, for example. Of course, Perl has become obsolete, so obviously we were all forced to reskill, right? So if technology is one area where you will have to reskill immediately. It's pre-COVID, post-COVID, is nothing to do with it, because if technology does get obsolete, and the only way is to upskill ourselves. Now, for somebody across middleman believes that okay, now I think in their career, as of now, maybe it may not be the right time for them to upskill. They do not want to get back into programming, or at least coding, or engineering. I think there's an opportunity where they could actually look at themselves to become, of course, digital consultants, or or at least digital transformation experts, right? For the non-tech companies who are uh, desperately looking out for these experts and actually consultants to come on board to help their companies to revive, because all these companies have totally forgotten, right? They all adopted adopted the Nokia strategy. When the entire world was moving towards digital, they thought that, hey, we are making money, we are an oil and gas company, we're automobile company, so why should we start embracing digital platforms? Now, after COVID, which is absolutely, they have no options at all. And for COVID or the pandemic is absolutely brutal. It doesn't care anybody, any industry. And the only way for such individuals who are in middle management, or senior management in their career path, is either if they're focusing on engineering, they need to reskill, or the other option is they need to adopt, or they need to wear new hats as a digital or tech evangelist to help these companies to adopt digital strategies.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because of time limitation, we cannot pick up all questions, and we
Uh,
took based on the sequence and the
yeah.
priority of the questions.
Can
So
we?
over to you, Giriji.
Yeah. Can we get one or two questions, Suhasji, if you are okay?
Yeah, I should be okay for two more if there is
Yeah.
anything else. Yeah.
Okay. Let's give chance to anybody want to talk. Please.
So somebody's been asking me about oil and gas. Unfortunately, my knowledge on oil and gas industry is is very limited. So you'll have to excuse me with that.
Yep. So the reskill question, Suhasji, the next one, I think that is very important because a lot of people want to reskill, but they don't know where to, right? I think you touched on that. You want to talk more about that?
If they have to
Which
reskill, where
technologies
could they reskill
probably,
themselves?
or is it AI, or is it like big data, or maybe analytics? Which domain people can look for? We a lot of us are IT related, so maybe
Okay, sure.
some.
I'm happy to write that here, and as well as they could actually refer. I'll not specifically write the languages because then it gets too niche. But they could obviously come back to me on that.
Yes.
So while analytics has been there, I think a lot of people now, or there will be massive demand on predictive analytics. I know from every company, from defense, intelligence, from across government, all of a sudden they have started to ask for predictive analytics. They're asking for engineers who know R. They're asking for people who know Python. Like somebody from the RERA's office the other day called if you can depute two programmers who know Python, right? Because they want to now use the data that they already had and they want to come up with a prediction. So I think it's a very good demand for India. And one thing that we will see again is the outsourcing era that we used to see in early 2000 when when there was a lot of back office outsourcing that used to happen to India. Now back office obviously has got automated, but will definitely have robotic process automation like adoption coming up. We will have lot of companies that have been badly impacted because of across coronavirus. Let's say the actually because their whole system has got paralyzed right now and they want to build new products but they do not have people to build new products. The only way is that they again have to look at outsourcing. So we will find we'll find outsourcing of core engineering services. We'll find outsourcing of core product building services. Earlier I still remember when our company used to do outsourcing, we used to take those non-critical components or those FTTX to build it. Let's UI engineering or UX engineering, but the core business logic was always proprietary to them. But now I think we will find end-to-end product development opportunities coming to India.
Suhasji, one last question. I think there is one question about interview that we will take it for the next session because we have in the next week we have soft skills training kind of session. So I think we will take it that in that session. But Suhasji, the question above that is about real estate and civil engineering, right? Can you please brief about your idea on how will these two sectors will be post this
Mhm.
crisis? Yeah.
So I think the real estate because I'll also share the link of that article here. I think the construction industry itself, for the real estate industry itself, will start adopting technology itself. It could be in terms of automation, and we will also see the new models that's coming up across real estate. So we will have extremely interesting models in terms of rental. We will have co-sharing of investments coming in. Let's say uh, which was which was which was not very popular in India earlier, but now I think we will see those models coming up. The only way to actually actually revive the real estate industry. So it's like crowdfunding of a real estate project, right? So if there is a mall that is coming up in future, or if there's a commercial property that's coming up, maybe you could invest probably like 1 lakh rupee or 50,000 rupees, and you could be a part owner of. So we will find those models uh, which will definitely emerge, because of course, real estate owners are definitely cash crunched, and uh, uh, which should be there. And for technology adoption, right? Like automation for construction, automation for market discovery, and similar to co-working space, we'll also find interesting models that would emerge across the residential as well, because co-living will definitely get changed. It may not be the same old PG structure that we will see. So we'll find interesting models that would actually come across residential and also across commercial, because the only thing that they are seeing now is cost cutting, and the only way that they could do cost cutting is by complementing it with some technology.
Okay, thank you, Suhasji. Manjit, any other questions? One last.
I think some questions related to freshers has come. Advice for unplaced freshers or IT industry expert. What is the expectations from freshers in post-COVID situation? So maybe we can cover.
What is the expectation from employers for the fresh graduates?
Yeah, expectations of employer from fresh graduates.
So from the fresh graduates, as I told you that, so certain skills I'd already listed there. So I think it's time, if they're fresh out of engineering college, and if they simply tell that they know SQL and they know some amount of C++ and across Java, they'll definitely have tough time. So it's time that they will have to pick up certain skills that is absolutely more actually relevant. So it could be in terms of UI and UX, uh, robotic process automation, or blockchain, AI, or analytics. And I think, or as I told, across DevOps as well, right? So, and the freshers, the one thing which I would want to suggest them is, if they have not found a job, they do not have to lose heart. It's time that they actually become a freelancer, because gig economy will be there. It is going to stay. We'll have more and more people taking up tasks, and they're going to work from home. So platforms like Fire and freelance.com and others have seen massive spike that is coming up. So there are like sites like voices.com, where if you have good voice, you could actually be able to take up projects and you could give voice over. So we are finding massive amount of gig economy, which was not very popular in India, but in India it is going to be popular. You could believe my word. Company as well, when we used to have a specific task earlier, we used to hire a person for that, and we used to think that, okay, we know that we will have enough work for him for next 3 months, but after for the balance months, we thought, okay, we will either put him on bench, or we'll figure out if there is any work that is coming up. But now no employer will want to hire some person only for a specific project. If there's for a specific project, they will outsource it to a freelancer. If they know that they could engage that individual across the year, or across years, then I think they would want to hire. So the only request to the freshers is, you look out for new opportunities, take up certain online courses, upskill yourself, and if you do not find a job, start taking up freelance projects, because at least you're going to build your portfolio. You're also at least going to learn something, and you can build experience, and uh, helps your financial positioning as well.
Thank you, Suhasji. Thanks a lot. I think we'll end this session here. There are questions still coming in. Is there a way we can get in touch with you and send those
Sure,
questions to
definitely.
you?
So I'm sharing my email address here. So I've shared my personal office as well, and at the same time my Twitter as well. I've shared my handle. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, we have the Paraspandan email also. If anybody want to ask Suhas ji or ask us, you can please go ahead and send an email.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you. Right.
Yes. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Suhas ji.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you for
Thank you.
accepting and coming and giving us a perspective on where the market is going to be, so that most of us working in various companies, we have an opportunity to upskill as well as reskill. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Suhas.
Yeah.
It was a
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
good
everyone.
Q&A.
Bye
One
bye.
question statement is
Yeah.
sorry, I just saw one question on network marketing or MLM. My only request is please not get extended to any of this multi-level marketing schemes as of now. So stay cautious and always look for stable opportunity for job opportunity. Yeah.
Sure. I think this is the time they will be fishing for people. Right. So let's stay
So
away.
actually, yeah. I would want to caution them because I saw one question there. So I would want to, yeah, I do not want them to fall actually victims to it. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you,
We
Suhasji.
covered a lot of questions.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much. Thank
Subhasji.
you.
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
your time. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Thanks,
Subhasji.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.